Karen will start with the student showcase. I'd like to welcome Mrs. Catworth's press room up here in the front, and we'll turn it over to you guys.
Welcome to the Merton Press Room staff meeting. I'm Marley Radcliffe, in fifth grade. I'm Riley Wilson, in sixth grade. I'm Dobby Peterson, and I'm also in fifth grade. I'm Caleb Hausman, in fifth grade. My name is Vera Kelsey. I'm Maddie Sikorsky, and I'm also in fifth grade. I'm Harper Boris, I'm in fifth grade. I'm Carl Padera, and I'm in fifth grade. I'm Patrick Dunn, and I'm in fifth grade. I'm Sydney Wilson, and I'm in sixth grade. I'm Claire Radcliffe, and I'm in sixth grade. Emily has been doing covers in the classroom for about 3 years now. She thinks Merton Press Room is a great opportunity and she loves being a part of it. Merton Press Room is a wonderful community with a bunch of talented students and great leaders. Designing the covers over the years has been an amazing opportunity and it brings me so much joy. Designing these covers gives me and opportunity to grow and strengthen my community.
So one thing that Hudson was going to present is that we produced and published a magazine, student created and edited magazine about once a month. And it goes out digitally and also hard copies to the school, both schools and in the community, a couple of places, town hall, library, and also town hall. So.
Hi, my name is Dobby Peterson, and today I'm going to be learning the editing process of Merton. First, this cake goes to a tip sheet where we post our ideas so they can work on Merton. Then we have a staff meeting and talk about what needs to be done before it's ready for edit. The editing process is different for each category. For example, for a story, we make it sure that everything makes sense and there is proper spelling, punctuation, and capitalism. For things like crosswords and other games, we test it to make sure it works properly. Then we add it to the Merton magazine and move on to the next phase. Then after that, Ms. Kate will print the Merton magazine and move then finally, usually me and some of the other girls like Maggie will go over to the other school.
Can you back to Hudson's slide?
So my name is Hudson. I'm a professor and senior staffer and designer. I'm just going to do a quick review on how we publish, where we put our magazines, and how we distribute the magazine to the Merton community. For publishing the magazine, we often publish the magazine every month. Every month, the students inside Merton Press Room is where we sign up for stuff on a sign-up sheet, and we take those things and relate them on the month. So usually for December, we go for a Christmas theme. And after that, we kind of relate all the arts to the Christmas theme and all the articles to the Christmas theme. So we publish the Merton Mustang magazine every month with a certain theme. So for the Merton Mustang magazine, we distribute the magazines to the town hall, digital and paper copies. And the town hall is basically a place where people will go into and they can sit there waiting and they can grab a magazine and start reading the newspaper for the school district. And we also distribute it to both schools, intermediate and primary, in the Merton School District. So you can find the magazines in the library or in the office. So then you can check them out in the school libraries, or when the guests come through to the office, they can take a look at the magazine.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so if you haven't seen our Merton magazine already, there's a QR code in your cell phone or any digital device, you can scan that. Good evening. Today we'll be talking about student writing. In the There are many different types of writing that goes into press rooms, such as information writing, survey writing, literature, and much more. In our very own intermediate library, kids in the press room can share stories they wrote by putting them on display on one of the shelves. One of the ways that students really get to express themselves is by creating their own writing, such as doing podcasts, which Carl will be talking about later, and a new show, The Mystery Singer, which Miss K came up with and I here produce. As you can see, there are many pieces of writing here on the screen. This is some of the writing that me and Marley have contributed to press room. One of my most popular pieces, Love at First Sight. Today I will be sharing a little piece of it. I will give you all I have. 3 weeks have passed, and as they were burying Isabella, Jacob saw a tattoo on her arm that said, "I'm not afraid to be Jewish," and Jacob replied, "Nor am I." As you can see, many people in press room put a lot of time and effort into their writing. This should give you an insight of the students' writing that goes on in the press room. There are so many more people than me and Riley, but every single one of those kids' writing is very unique and special in their own way. That's what makes it so great to have press room at the interview. We now hope we painted a picture in your mind of what press room writing is. Thank you for your time to hear about press room. This is a photo where kids can share their stories in the library. Also, on your way out, there are magazines outside on the table. When we submit art to be published in the magazine, there's a specific process that we have to follow. First, we have to find something to draw, whether we base it off a physical object that we can find or a picture on our computer. After we finish drawing our picture, we have to scan the drawing using the printer in the library. After we scan the picture, we have to link the art to the pitch sheet, where it will then be put somewhere in the final copy of the Merton magazine. Normally, when I publish art, I make something that goes along with one theme. For example, when I do the Fox, that was during the Many Things issue, which is the first magazine published in school year. And it was published in the fall. Other times, if I see a cool picture that I would like to draw, it would not always relate to the theme of the month's issue. For example, the swan show. I drew the swan out of the show. We both started mentoring around January of 3rd grade, which was in 2022. I wrote poems with a girl in 7th grade, and I wrote stories with that same girl. Abby Matros and Mrs. Imes came out with us in the start of 4th grade, but then Abby started mentoring us independently. Now we are following Abby's footsteps by mentoring 2 2nd graders each. The picture shown is us at a small group meeting with all of our mentees in 1st grade. Maddie and I both enjoyed our mentee journey and are liking our chance to be the mentors as well. When me and Maddie first started being mentored, we would meet in the primary conference room with a former teacher, Mrs. Meisner, and later Mrs. Erwanski and Abby. We would typically meet every Wednesday. During these meetings, we would also brainstorm ideas for poems, short stories, and essays, and we do occasional projects with Abby to help us for those writings. When we walk over to the primary school to teach our mentees, we normally switch between our mentees sharing the writing that they are working on in class and us giving feedback to things that they like in their stories. Or we teach writing lessons such as learning about theme, figurative language, punctuation, and other advances that the kids can learn for. On special occasions such as Valentine's Day, the week before winter break, or any other sort of holiday, we will normally do a fun writing day such as Valentine's Day writing activities. Maddie and I publish a large variety of work that ranges all the way from surveys to poems and short stories. I frequently publish poems and surveys. Maddie normally writes short stories as well as surveys. We both publish 1 or 2 pieces of art and magazines. Mentoring has been a very beneficial experience for the students who have been mentored, including me in Harvard. Therefore, we believe that mentoring should be continued during future years. Mentoring allows students who are more advanced to get what they are needing in writing. They are able to do more advanced and challenging techniques in writing due to the fact that they are mentored. Not only do they grow as writers right now, but it will help them get into more challenging things during the future grades, considering they already have experience learning about the aspects of writing that students in higher grades are learning about. Yeah, this is an agenda that we, this is kind of an example of some things that we'll use when we meet our mentees. Hi, I'm Dale Kaufman from 5th grade. My part of the first round was games and puzzles. This XOX puzzle is a crossword puzzle by Sydney, and sixth grade. This QR code right here is the same puzzle, but magnified, you can't see it easily. This QR code all the way to the right is the answers. This one is also by her. This QR code all the way at the bottom left is magnifying puzzle, and this is the answers. Over here is the games that I made. It's called Hoops. It's a basketball game that I made at home in my free time. This QR code at the top, that's the full game, and this one at the bottom is the beta. Hi, I'm Claire, and I'm Sydney. Today we're going to be talking about Merton, creativity, and new ideas. One of our creative ideas was a show called Merton Chef that we had started in fifth grade. Before Merton Chef started out, you had to create your own show. When we started out, our idea was to have a show on a more professional level. We're always looking for new and creative ideas to make our magazine. We have so many creative and talented students. We have been working on new ideas to help make our magazine different from others that you may see. We just started a new show called Mystery Singers. My own sister, Marley Radcliffe, recently started the show. It's been a very creative way to show off students' talents. Merchant Pressroom's creativity is a never-ending spiral. Everyone has new ideas that are amazing, that turn into successful ideas. With the help from talented people like Miss K, we also needed someone that had experience with magazines and creativity. We got help from one of Miss K's former students, Bailey. She now works with one of the big-time companies to write scripts. She has helped us find the setup and new ideas to make our magazine stand out. She has worked with Marquette Magazine as an editor. She has helped us give us so many ideas, and without her, the outcome of the magazine would have not been what it is now. Thank you. Well, I'm Carl, and I work on the history podcast for the press room. The two main questions that I focus on during each episode are: what are recurring patterns, events, and activities or actions related to blank? And the blank will be the historical topic that I'm working on. And then the second one is: what is still not known about blank? Those were very good questions that I used for the first episode, which you can listen to or watch with that QR code. It was about the lost colony of Roanoke. The second episode is about ancient Egypt. It gives you a short perspective of what it might be like if you lived on the Nile during the peak of the ancient Egyptian Empire. Then the photo that you see up there is a very good photo of the American escadrille. It was the first American pilots ever to fight in the air war over World War I, which is my current topic, the air war of World War I. I'll be covering everything from Zeppelins to the infamous Red Baron, or Manfred von Richthofen.
Hello, this is the first episode of the Merton Press Room History Podcast. In this series, we will research important events, people, and empires and report back to you. We will identify patterns related to each topic and share what is still not known about each important historical topic in this series. That's good.
All right, let's begin.
Thank you for your time and attention. Any questions? Or do you also will take creative ideas because we're always like.
Question. So is this a class or like an elective or an extracurricular?
It is not a class, it is done on their free time, a lot at home. So a lot of these students love to write, love to create, love to draw. These are things they do at home in their free time. And now they're just publishing it to share it with the world.
They do have press room meetings.
Yeah.
During lunchtime, things like that, they'll meet once a month.
Any other ideas? What would you like to see? What kind of show?
I think she's great with
Comics. We actually have a couple for March.
Me and my buddy Colton, the Stickman series is what he's working on. Pepperoni Fair.
We'll do that. We do have a couple copies. I'll leave them on the table, and there's QR codes, and there's also a QR code for the whole issue. We have it printed in black and white, but it'll come up in full color if you scan the QR. All right, I think that is it. So thank you very much.
Not here, out there.
Good kiss for you, and thank you for your presentation. Yes, Cindy? All right. Claire? Caleb? Arthur? Right. Maddie? Audrey? Vera? Carl? Bolton?
He's not here tomorrow.
And then?
Emily is a seventh grader who does the covers, so I can give that to her.
Thank you all. Thank you all so much.
Yeah. We'd like to get.
Okay, we are going to start our duty forum. And from you sign in, please. Lindsay, you've got the floor first.
I just have some questions, but I think my questions are being answered by other people, so could I go last? By any chance?
Sure. The next one would be, Dustin.
There you
That's the last go.
No, I can go.
Well, you're the only two. Oh, yeah, there's one more, yeah, Michelle.
There was a few people up here that didn't realize they had to sign up to talk. I'm gonna go after Gail, sure.
Just three that want to speak in the committee forum.
Well, Gail didn't realize you had to
I
sign
didn't
up.
know I had to sign up to speak, so if that's the rule, then I'll defer to Michelle.
You would, no, would you like to speak first?
Sure.
No.
Okay. So for anybody who doesn't know me, my name is Gail Ward, I'm the district nurse for Merton. I've been here for over a decade. And I'm here tonight because I just wanted a couple clarifications and some questions. I know you all are gonna be talking about some changing to how our sick time works and what our personal times might be and how that's gonna evolve in the coming years. When I look at it from my perspective, right, because I can really only look at it for myself and how it affects me. One of the things that does change for me, for Mrs. Knipper and other handful of employees who have been here over a decade, greater than a decade. If you look at the new matrix, we are being, a personal day that we have already earned is being taken from us. So I'm just trying to learn why that is. When I look at the chart, and I could be misunderstanding it, I don't see that happening to any other group throughout the district. It's a small group of us, there's probably 8 to 10 of us that have been here that long, we've stuck with the district, and one of the goals is you get to that 10-year mark and you get a second personal day. So I've earned that, she's earned that, there's some other staff members that have earned that. I did confirm with Ron that that was being taken away, I asked him that point blank.
The proposal.
The proposal, I'm sorry, the proposal is to take that away from us. Again, we're a small group that's been here. And frankly, that doesn't sit very well in my stomach. And so I'd like some understanding as to why you would do that to, you know, we earned it, it's ours, I've had it, she's had it. You have another employee who's supposed to get it this year. So I'm just looking for some clarification about what that rationale is.
So that started in committee,
Mhm.
and that's here for us
Correct,
tonight
correct,
talking.
yep.
So as a board as a whole, this is our first shot.
Correct, yeah, as a board as a whole, yeah.
So we haven't had a chance to discuss.
Right, so when I look at the proposal though, that's not in there anywhere. It doesn't show that this is gonna be. I mean, I don't know that anybody knows that's part of it, and since it's affecting me, I'm just looking for some clarification for that.
My meeting with Ron this morning, he mentioned it.
Yep, so mind if I take this one, just to kind of say where the proposal came from. So first of all, I do want to honor that after 10 years in the district, our support staff, our hourly support staff do gain another personal day. We start with one and then they gain 2. This proposal is a little bit different. You still have the opportunity for 2 or even 3 personal days, but it comes with a lower sick day law. Because the current reality right now is our people who've been here for over 10 years get 2 personal and 10 sick. Okay, with no payout at the very end. There is no payout, there is no compensation for any days that are unused. In this proposal, the reason why we adjusted that as an option, because the option now is to keep 2 personal days, you would lose 2 sick days. But the opportunity to earn those sick days into, I don't want to call it cash, but into a 403B at your per diem rate, to me is a good trade-off to losing 2 sick days. When I say losing 2 sick days that had no monetary value to an employee. So in this proposal, you can still keep your 2 personal days, yet your sick day allotment goes down by 2 days.
Right.
Or you can choose to take 3 personal days and then your allotment goes down to 5. The trade-off in the proposal that I created and presented to the committee was really focused around, this is a different proposal than what we currently have. And ultimately, the opportunity to earn more money into a 403B is what I would say is the trade-off that I gave our employees who've been here for a long time. Now, if you were here for a long time and you had the opportunity to accrue a lot of sick time, that once you get over 60 days, you can really start to bankroll, but it becomes pretty lucrative for an individual to stay with the district, I don't want to use the term stuck with the district, but stay with the district for over a period of time to get over 60 days. Because once you go over those 60 days, every day that you don't use over 60 gets paid out into your 403B or
I
retirement.
understand that, and that's.
Yeah, and that's really the
What
trade-off.
we talked about, I guess, from my perspective, from my current reality. So although I had all those hours banked before, probably 5 or 6 years in, because I don't call in sick. As you know, I had a son that got greatly ill and I spent multiple weeks using that time while he was in the hospital. So I'm never gonna get back to that point because I go to medical appointments with him. I need to be there. That's my reality. So I feel like when I look at this matrix, at the very least, I should be able to keep what I already have. In order for me to even get to this payout, I have to work, never call in sick and never take a personal day for the next 6 years. That's my reality. So for me, I would rather have that personal day and have time with my family or go to my son's medical appointments. That 6 years out is frankly not even on my radar. So I know it might be for some people, but even for a new employee, you'd have to give the district 7 years before you get anything back. So I would like to keep what I have. I earned it. We all work to and strive for it, and I see that there's 2 dates here of personal time, but I'm giving up, you're giving up time, right? I mean, I'm coming down with less days overall. So, I don't think I'm alone in my thinking.
Well, I would agree with that, and I have a few other things to say, but take Ron's, what we were just talking about, and I know some of this doesn't affect other people, so I don't want to talk too much about, yeah. But I'm right, this year, I'm right at 60, 250 some hours. If I divide that by my current hours, I'm right at 60. So if next year I get my 10, if I'm still employed, next year I still get I get 10 days or whatever option I pick. So what money is going into the 403? Just those days are unused on top of the 60, because those 60 days don't go into the 403B, right?
No.
If anything on top of that.
You have to hit, for you to cash out the remaining part of those 60 days, you need to retire with the district with
Right.
what we call as a rule of 80.
Right, and well, do you know how many more years I have to? I don't know. If
Well, I mean, it's no different than a lot of employees. I
I'm
mean-
not arguing that point, but to Gail's point, it's not gonna do, even someone who does have the 60, that's not gonna help me. I mean, I have right now 2 personal and 10 sick days. Obviously, I don't take very many sick days. But now you wanna go to 1 and 10, 2 and 8, and 3 and 5 for someone who's been in the district so long. That doesn't make me feel very valued or appreciated. And, go ahead.
Well, I mean, I guess my other point, I know there was some talk about like the paying out the per diem, and that's great, but. You know, when the rare times I'm not here, it doesn't cost the district anything that I'm gone, because I'm not replaced. We all cover for each other in the office, so when Mrs. Baumgartner takes off, we don't pull someone else in to be her, we are her. So I think that's something that should be considered as well.
I know we've had 4 meetings now and paid time out, and I've made 3 of them. I mean, the first meeting, it was just Ron, Nikki, and myself that went last school year. We were talking about that, and I know one of the things that was brought up in the policy meeting was if I wanted to take an unpaid day, I had to pay a sub for that. And I know immediately the board heard that and they took that off the table. And I appreciate that. And I know right now you're gonna be talking about it later, and it's not, I guess I'd rather have my say and at least let you guys know what we're thinking, and I'm pretty much on board with what Gail had said. But we've been talking about having retention problems with IAs and that, and you know, I run, you know, it's recorded. I mean, I come in, hey, Michelle, can you stay late? Sure. Or I'm getting ready to leave. Hey, can you stay? I bend over backward because I love the kids. And I like helping to support the teachers. But by this option, it doesn't do me any good. I mean, it doesn't even make me the same. It's taking me a step back for all of my service, and you want to retain people. And I'm sorry, I get.
And that's right. And I just to show people the difference that this would do for you is any sick days, once you get over that 480 hours and things like that, any time that you don't use, you get compensated for now. Compared to, in our current reality, you have 10 sick days. If you don't use any of those.
Right, they've gone by.
They're gone, they're
Right.
gone. Compared to this proposal, if you wanna stay with 2 personal days, and you still have 8 sick days remaining, you get compensated 8 days. So that's kind of the difference in this proposal, is that you now are, instead of those days going bye-bye, and thank you
But I
for
don't-
coming to work,
But didn't you just say I had to reach 80 in order to really get the compensation to kick in?
480 hours is the max amount of sick time that we allow. 480 hours or 60 days.
I just feel that, I guess it would be better if one of the options for the people that this is affecting more could be grandfathered in. I mean, it's a select few, it's not that many. And that's, I guess that's just something I would like to throw out there when you guys are considering eventually discussing it later, and then I'm sure it's gonna go back to another meeting before you vote. So I guess I'm just,
That's the way.
I know you're not just thinking
We
everyone.
talk about it, and that's why I appreciate you telling the board now, because obviously that wasn't the, you know, you weren't able to make the last one, so, this is something different for them to hear.
Anyway, thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hence,
Alright, we'll let him go to get my answer.
Meeting. Kind of had a discussion about social emotional learning and the proposal that can be discussed tonight in terms of removing the opt-out option that, is currently in place for intermediate school students. So I just had a couple questions. Now, Mr. Newcomer did put together a nice presentation, kind of explaining some of the reasons why, which I appreciated. But one of the questions I have is one of the reasons that was given was there's a sense that bullying is a problem in our district. Is that, Ron or the board, is that how you guys feel, that bullying is a problem in our district?
The data we have from parents, one of the things they said was that they did not, I think Steve will share this even later, but that's one of the places we scored lower, is that parents were not did not think we were as responsive or that they were confident. One of the concerns that we have. What was that?
It was in his presentation.
Yeah, so 73%, so 27%.
One of the 5 lowest scores in the school perception survey. Is the data point that he provided.
Yep.
So it's lowest score for us.
27% of the parents said that bullying was not being addressed properly in the district, right? Is that the number that accurate?
Sure. 28.
28, okay. So, I guess.
Well, wait, I guess my question, Steve, is this kids or parents? Because there was 2 surveys, there was a kid survey and a parent survey, correct?
That, the one that's in your hand is the student one. The parent one, I don't know if you have, I don't have that one in front of me, but the parent one, it looks smaller.
Yes. 73 parent.
Yeah. You
Students,
know, what I'm talking
72%.
about. Yeah, it's that graph like that is student.
To clear.
Yeah, so the position, we think bullying is a problem.
To answer that question, frankly, I don't think it is. I think we need to continue to address it and move forward with it, but just because I don't think it's an issue.
Yeah,
we
sure.
have 28% of our kids, 27% of our families, there's something that we want to continue to strive for.
No, I understand. So last year, or 2 years ago, when we were discussing SEL, I asked about the program and it was about improving student behaviors and board members not on the board anymore, but the answer was no, it's not about student behaviors. So that's where I'm a little confused. Now we're seeing it is about improving student behavior and bullying and those types of things. So the board has a policy on bullying, correct?
Yes.
And what is that, zero tolerance for bullying?
You know, it's again, you got to take a look at the policy as well as the progressive discipline that goes through. You know, we obviously don't endorse it, so that would be a zero tolerance, but I'm not quite sure what you mean by zero tolerance.
I don't know.
And we investigate accordingly and then respond appropriately.
So we had a lot of kids suspended this year for bullying or disciplined for bullying in the intermediate school.
That data I don't have in front of me. Do you have any, Steve, you want to comment on that, I guess?
So the question was, so repeat the question.
Yeah, are there a lot of suspensions being handed out for bullying? Are there a lot of discipline issues around bullying that's going on in the district?
I wouldn't say a lot of suspensions, no. Is there an issue or is there, have there been some?
Challenges?
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah, no, I don't know, it's-
Yeah.
and part of also, I think that the learning process too, is that sometimes people misuse the word bullying as well. There's also, there's people that treat people unkindly, bullying is a progressive piece, right? Correct. So, but yeah, yes, we've had issues with that. I'm not sure if that answers. your
Yeah,
question.
no,
Okay.
that does, so my ultimate question is, why would we be considering taking away an opt-out option for parents?
Because the proposal that we are presenting to the board tonight is something very different than what it is that we are currently doing. And that we feel that all of our students should be exposed to, taught, again, whether they're gonna master it or not, obviously it's a progressive level. But ultimately, we want to create a course that all students can succeed in and continue their journey through our school, and then hopefully transition it successfully into that high school route too as well, so. And that's why what you'll see tonight is in the proposal that's in the board packet. You'll see connections to what it is that we would like to propose, and then connection also to Arrowhead's learner profile. That, hopefully continues to line up 6 through 12 or K through 12. So I would say the difference right now is this is a different program than our second step program that we adopted back in 2020. So that's why we're just talking about something that all students can participate in.
Okay, so there's no formal proposal yet, this was just a discussion.
Correct, yeah, this is just a discussion to get a direction, so our administrative team knows how to move forward planning, and then ultimately we would bring something through whatever's decided through the proper channels like we do with any other changes.
And I think some of the information shows like 8th grade, it's over half the kids are opting out. The parents are opting out of social emotional learning, and 40% overall.
Steve, can you add to that?
I gave some data members of the board, I don't have it in front of me, but I think we have.
I would definitely say that, and I think if we're being intellectually honest with ourselves, Justin, we don't know why that is. We can make assumptions, right? But we've never surveyed parents to know why did they opt out. We have anecdotal evidence on both sides. Anecdotal evidence is, 50% opt out, they must not like social emotional learning. Steve's got anecdotal evidence talking to families that they didn't really know what was in it, but it gave their child a extra study hall to catch up because they're busy with extracurricular. So
For sure.
it's a data point out there, but I don't think we truly can pinpoint why it is. Now, can I address something? Because I think let's address the elephant in the room, which is social emotional learning. As you know, because you've done a lot of research, you've talked to us about this a number of times. It has been I'll just call it the social emotional learning umbrella there has been hijacked. Hijacked by, you want to call it the left, we can call it the left, progressives, where it teaches CRT at some schools. It teaches cultural responsive, I'm gonna get it wrong, you know what I'm talking about. Culturally relevant responsive teaching. It has been talked to as if teachers are unlicensed counselors. It has it covers topics such as identity through the lens of intersectionality, right? All of these things have been hijacked, if you will, at 100,000 foot level. I think what Mr. Newcomer is trying to do is focus the conversation rather than at 100,000 foot on all the negative things that are out there. I think what Mr. Newcomer and Jenny are trying to do is focus it to specific things. To come together as parents, as school leaders, the administrative team, as teachers, because there are teachers that want this. And there are teachers, I admit, don't want this. But come together as a school board and work together collaboratively to come up with lessons, topic, themes that we all agree aren't controversial. You know, for example, one that shouldn't be controversial, learning to plan. time management, good study skills, you know, working well with others, using effective communication skills. Those shouldn't be controversial for us parents. Are they?
Not controversial to me
Okay.
whatsoever. I mean,
So then,
Miss Mattson, she covers social emotional learning night, I thought it was.
fantastic job presenting.
so two things. One, 100,000 foot stair. Low level here, right, in Merton. Those are technically all part of social emotional learning. And I can show you, I'll give this to you afterwards. This is from the Wisconsin Department of Instruction. Their social emotional. Yep, you probably read it before.
We read all of it.
Yep. So if you look at some of the themes, they're in there, time management, studying, clear, concise communication. Again, I think that's what they want to do. So those are there. Now, next question for you. If it wasn't second step, would you support that? As a not opt-out for parents?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, I'm asking you, because you're the one that, I mean,
Yeah, I'm
we've had this conversation 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
And as I'm saying, as a community forum piece, you've come to us 3 or 4 times. And I know you don't like second step. You've said that, I think probably last August. March of 20, sorry, yeah, August of 22, March of 22.
pretty consistent.
Yes, very consistent. So if it wasn't second step and it was something that covered topics that were mutually agreed upon by all parties, do you support that?
I support.
For all kids.
I support a parent's right to decide what's best for their kids for non-state mandated curriculum.
Okay, all curriculum, all non-state mandated curriculum.
100%.
Okay, so there's other classes out there, right, that aren't mandated by the state, that we should, okay.
Well,
Which, I mean, by state law, every parent can opt their kid out. So, anyway, my question, I guess, going back to that is, why take away an option for parents to give their kids the choice to decide those best for their kids?
Yeah, as a member of the student chief and when the administration comes and gives a presentation about why they don't think what we're doing is working. And it's not working for the full student, then I'm listening to why they don't think it's working and what proposals they have for how we think things could work better. Because they're here every day and working with their kids, so that's why they get the proposals. They do not think the opt-out is working and they're proposing something else.
Sure, I totally appreciate that. Andrew, you said on the board, when you first got on the board, and thankfully you were on the board, because you voted against some of the things that were coming into our district in terms of global awareness. I think we were calling it at that time. You remember that?
I remember, yeah, I think it died before I got up, actually.
It was right before.
Yeah, I think they were gonna bring in a speaker in March, and the board at the time, Lindsay was part of it, board at the time. Did not
You
want to
replaced Jennifer Newman on the board, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, so you voted against it, yeah, which I appreciate, right? So that's my concern, right? The competencies that we talked about, you just discussed, those are good ideas, great ideas, right? But they've been co-opted into other things that we discussed as well. That's why I think we gotta have parents the choice. I don't see anything wrong with that whatsoever.
I guess, Justin, to answer your question, why? You know, why would I consider that as a school board member? Because I think my role as a school board member is to listen to all constituencies. So parents that are for this, parents that are against this, teachers for this and against this, our administrative team, whether they're for this or against this. But my role as a school board member is to listen to all those and to try to find collaborative solutions that work for everybody. Does that mean everybody wins at the end and gets what they want? No, when compromise, nobody ever walks away saying, I won. If you're really truly compromised. And so my role is to try to work with everybody. And I think the piece of this that isn't as simple as just having an opt-out is if we make everything opt-out, if we don't listen to our if we make everything opt-out, how do we build schedules? If we don't know what those class sizes are going to be until registration, which occurs in August. Our teacher contracts start before that. So are we to hire in advance or try to hire right at the end if we know how many kids
They're
are?
asking me for a solution. The solution is making an elective class, so you can plan for it. And that's part of people can elect to choose to put their kids through the program.
Yeah, but they're not registering until August, correct?
You do it in.
Okay, so the other piece of this, if we just ignore the other constituents. We're gonna create a culture in this district. Okay, that doesn't value the professional opinions. And so how are we gonna attract, retain talent if we don't respect what they're asking and the professional opinions that they're giving us? It's a small community for administrative professionals. And if we're gonna be known as the district that doesn't listen to the professionals, that doesn't value their advice. You know, I'm worried that we'll lose talented people. We won't be able to attract top-notch people to continue to further this district. I also am concerned with the teachers that, you know, feel that we need this. You know, are we going to alienate them to where they don't feel like we're listening to them? And are they gonna wanna work here? And are we gonna be able to attract? So there's a lot of things that are intertwined and in this conversation that I think as a school board member, you need to take into consideration all of that. So that's why I'm open to this. And trying to find a solution that works for everybody.
So I also respect the professional opinion of our administrators, right, and our teachers. You know, it's kind of went sideways here, but, you know, for example, Act 20, why did we have Act 20? Act 20 was passed because we were doing things in education that weren't working, right? Act 20 had to be passed by the legislature because there were things in the school, literacy standards, which weren't working very.
You're making a blanket assumption for all applications, that's it.
We passed a lot.
Did you have
a question that?
But I said you're making a blanket assumption for.
Andrew,
Well, the legislators are saying that, yes, the reading scores are bad, and you have to take them to approach. But it's a Band-Aid for all the schools that, are failing.
In our school certainly is not, of course, right?
Sixth grade school. Correct.
We're one of 30 K grades, but I understand, right? Our point.
So we shouldn't celebrate we're in the sixth. We want to, I'll finish it by saying, okay.
But God, I mean, I'm actually the school board.
I get it.
Again, this
Where you
happened, right? An opt-out was given to our parents and now we're choosing to take it away. I'm gonna get to my second part.
Well, it's just a discussion, Joe. It's just a discussion.
We're having the discussion because the professionals that you respect told us that the opt-out is not working, and that's why we're having this discussion.
Which is fantastic, right? Which is why I'm expressing my opinion as well as a parent and a community. Right? So I guess I'm still looking for an answer of what the purpose of the program is. Like, I understand there's all these terms and, you know, things we talk about and why we do SEL, but what is the goal?
To be honest, and I wrote it down just as I was kind of thinking and kind of saying, I want to make this course as important as what reading is. Right? When we start talking about the skills that we would like to teach, showcase, demonstrate to our families and to Andy's point, collaborate around, what are some things that our community can get around that we believe all students should be able to, just like, you know, we do with reading, math, sciences and things like that. So that's our goal from an administrative team, and you'll hear that from Steve, is something that we feel is really important to set our kids up for success. Truly is what our goal is. That isn't arguable, hot button. Again, we need to stay away from the hot buttons of second step. Some of the things that are out there that continue to be pushed there that we know aren't in ours. Or this whole idea of social emotional learning. Again, we didn't want to hide from social emotional learning because the DPI calls it out. We want to be transparent and be able to say, hey, these are competencies, but what competencies can we all rally around? Truly was our goal. And what I wanted to do and what Steve did was just threw some topics out there that we felt to understand what our goalposts are And the board's gonna have a discussion, and if there's things in there that, no, we don't need to, great, we'll take it out, funnel it in and through. We just are looking for something that, what do we feel that all students should be able to know and do in the area of SEL? Under the competencies that we believe here at Merton, that we should have all kids be able to learn and do. And if the board says, no, we don't want to do that, we will gladly create a course that is, health is mandated. I mean, there's certain things that we can then bring in that would be more state required if we needed to on that standpoint. But we feel that when we start to look at the graduate profile for Arrowhead and the things that they want their graduates to do, we feel this course would set our kids up very well.
And these competencies aren't separate from learning math, from learning science. So these are the things that set you up to have a good foundation for that, for organized thinking and being able to work well with others. Being able to be calm in a classroom, learning how to calm yourself down is one of the predictors for graduation. Being able to figure out how to work in such settings. So the things that they have here are what they're very confident that schools that are strong in this also are connected to their higher literacy levels. It connects across the board because it supports the learning. So these are foundational to all the pieces we teach because it's about how we learn to learn and learn to learn with each other in public school. I don't see them as separate from this curriculum because they support them.
Yeah, I understand them. SEL infusion in the entire curriculum would be a priority for this.
Please don't
For
put
me,
Justin,
as
please
a,
don't put words into my mouth.
for me as a
I
parent,
understand you're using this as your platform, but if we're having this as a conversation, then please don't put words into my mouth.
as a parent, I'm just asking why you take away the choice that I would make to opt out my kids of.
I think, maybe other people on the board want to answer, but I think I've answered that pretty clearly because the administration recommended it. That's-
We are just on the front end of the discussion. Part of it. So,
Lindsay, you're next.
Ready to go, but I guess that I'm gonna pivot from what I was gonna ask, and I'm gonna ask the questions from that I heard. Time management, all those different things that we're talking about are great things, but how is that not ACP? That's my question, because we have ACP. So why do we need SEL and ACP to be now linked together when ACP can cover the things that will go to Arrowhead, the things that we have?
Right, there are crossovers in that area, but when Arrowhead talks about valuing and understanding differences, that's not an ACP concept.
That's an SEL concept.
That's an SEL concept, but Arrowhead's learner profile is about understanding and valuing differences.
So why couldn't we, I'm thinking more like, how can we make this an option that all of us can come together and agree on, right? So if ACP is something that some parents would be more comfortable with, or if there's a reason why, no matter what reason parents are opting out for, we have a right. Every parent has a right to put their kid into SEL, and every parent should have a right to not do that. It's not a state mandate. If it was that they wanted to have a study hall, or offer Spanish, or offer whatever it is, and I know Steve, you said it's too hard to put them into Spanish, I listened to the thing. But I'd say parents have the right, no matter what it is, to decide that. So why wouldn't we continue the course that we used to have ACP? And then now we're mixing them together just so we can keep SEL. That's what it sounds like for me. And why can't we just make this an elective? So in the future, that people that want the differences and things like that, they want to address it at school and not at home, or they want it both places, they have that. But the people that don't want that, for whatever reason, still have the right to decide for their kids. That's what my question to each of the school board members.
My answer remains the same, that our administrative is telling us that the opt-out is not working for our school, and they've given some good reasons for that. They also explained how having the opt-out has had some unintended consequences that they hadn't foreseen, and Mr. Nicole has given several examples of that in his presentations. I imagine he would do so again later if he can get a chance to listen to those. For them saying this is what they need to run the school, that's what I'm responding to. So my answer is, can I talk?
Go ahead.
I understand that, and I did listen to it. But the thing that kind of kept popping up, and the thing that you guys keep saying about it, it's hard to do because it's August. If you make it an elective, you can schedule. you can plan for this. Scheduling is not enough reason to take parents' rights away.
I think that's not the primary. See,
That was an example that I provided.
But we currently do that, that's what we're doing now, and that's what they're saying is it's working.
I just, Lindsay, I think, I want to respond to your question about ACP. They are definitely ACP activities, note-taking, organizational skills, a bunch. We would like to do that in ACP planning. Right now, we have very few lessons because they fall under social emotional learning. What administration would like to do is to put those things into an ACP class where everyone is comfortable with to do all of that additional ACP work. That's what I'm hoping for some goalpost from the board. That's what we're asking, like, that is an ACP skill. Right now, we are not teaching it like we would like to because it's an identified cell competency. We're asking, I don't think the community overall would have a problem with teaching some of those things to all kids. Is there a way we can come to an agreement on what are cell competencies that also align to ACP? Because right now, we do not want to violate the board's motion that they had. We want to find out what can we put in, like organization, note-taking. I think there's a couple goal setting, huge. Right now, where kids are just kind of doing their profile work, interest surveys, things that they like. We would like to take that and also put, frankly, for me in 7th grade, a much more robust piece in there about course sequence at Arrowhead, course selection, how it matches for your survey. We can't do that because it's goal work right now. So I feel like I'm saying what you're saying, Lindsay, which is what we would like is a course, but we aren't trying to be, we're trying to be transparent to say some of what we want in there is social emotional learning competencies, but we feel that they are valued as part of our ACP planning and work. The state requires that, but they allow us to decide what's in it. So can we partner with our parents and community to make a class for all kids for ACP that we can live with? That's what we're asking for.
So how are you getting the community involved in it besides the strategic planning?
Our question to the board was even again to clarify as I've been asking at different times to what our goalpost is with social emotional learning. Our idea would be we have a long-term look, right? Like what's the cell and strategic plannings over here? We'll get direction from that later. What we're looking is even for next year, can we build a course collaboratively that everyone can live with in the short term? Because any long-term look, like frankly, if we're doing anything like that, you know me, I'm a curriculum director. I would be telling you, take it through the process. We've got a good process. Everything's always open. People can review materials. Maybe we don't like it, and have a much more involved thing because that's a good process to do that with. That's where long-term, depending on strategic planning, but in the short term, we just want to be honest that we would be putting some things that are in the DPI document about cell in an ACP class that we think our students absolutely would benefit from and need.
My question is, if you're going to take ACP, which is required, right?
Mhm.
I want to make sure we all know it. SEL is not the required, this is something that Merton is choosing. Is there a way to take it if there's parents who don't feel comfortable with it, that they can opt the kids out of that SEL piece, once you put it into one big class?
I would like to argue back, Lindsay, that I think the benefits as far as helping to transition better from our parents to Arrowhead, I get lots of feedback of under preparation on many, many things, study habits, just things that I think all kids would benefit. It's hard to opt out of that, frankly, or the course sequence work. and the things that I think that they would benefit from. I mean, that's why we would rather like develop something we think all kids could benefit from.
I fully support ACP and all the things that they provide, the financial and things like that. SEL has been going on for 5 years, and it's not the first time you're hearing about, well, it's been written that long, but
Yeah.
hearing about the difference of it, so it's not like it's changed the course for everyone. But I really, I strongly think we should have ACP. I don't want that
Yeah.
to be like the mistaken thing that comes up later.
Lindsay, could I answer your question?
Yeah.
About ACP, because I'm glad you brought that up, because in preparation, I did pull our ACP policy that we passed in April of 23. First reading in March, you were still there, second reading in April. What Maria talked about the SEL motion that was made in August of 22, it wasn't second step. The motion was, going back and listening to it, was very broad. It was, I move to direct the administration to create an opt-out form related to social and emotional learning, SEL, for 6th through 8th grade, which will be made available for parents both online and in person through registration. When I pulled this over the weekend, looking at it, halfway through, increasing student engagement with school by learning by actively involving students in goal setting and planning for their own futures, increasing students' self-awareness of their own strengths and interests. Again, so like, we had this policy, and then we passed this one after it. Admittedly, I don't think it, because it passed 5-0 in April, by this board as it's constituted today. Everybody assumed I assume because it passed 5-0, didn't have a problem with this. But when you apply it through the lens of social emotional learning, those things that I just read to you would fall under the umbrella of social emotional learning. But we didn't have a problem with it with regards to academic and career planning. So to me, it comes down to what umbrella are we putting in it, academic or social emotional learning?
I'm glad you pulled that up. Did you pull up what we actually opted out as parents? Have you seen that part of it yet?
I have not, no, I just went through what the motion was, which is what our administrative team is living by, the letter of the law.
So I just would recommend you check that too, because it literally says second step, that you're opting out of that. As parents, that's what we were given as a communication.
Appreciate that. I just go back to the motion, didn't say second step.
So, I'm also. Sorry, I have a lot of questions, and I don't want to take up too much of the time, but I want to do. Okay, so my question is, if we do take SEL and ACP and Merton, and there is a line that is crossed, say, in what was the one, the example you just gave from? Denver City or something. The differences or.
Oh, understanding and valuing differences.
Okay, so say everything's fine the way we plan as a curriculum, but then somehow it goes off in a different direction in class. What are the checks and balances for that?
The same checks and balances that would be in math class, social, I mean, it's.
So this is my fear. I don't know if other people know some of the things that checks and balances haven't happened here at our school. But have you guys everybody that you know what Imes is? It's a book, it's about a transgender child. That is not something that is in our curriculum. But yeah, it was exposed to our first graders without permission from our parents. We also had a whole assembly on the red crayon. We had books read Tango Makes 3. These are things that happen at our school. It's not this big umbrella of, it's not gonna happen here. These things did happen. And my fear is that we have these great curriculum, and Maria does so much work with making the curriculum and making sure that when it's actually implemented, it's happened here. So what do? Do we just wait? Or do you give the parents the right to decide for themselves?
that's a really big question there, but it's about kind of the fences, freedom within fences, and whenever someone, and again, kindergarten through 8th grade, we rely on our professionals, and then when our professionals, to your point, cross the line, then that is addressed through personnel.
We also
And then we recognize it, I mean, for your first example, I am Jazz. We recognize it, we inform the families, and then we handle it as a personnel item. So we did what we could in the time. But again, we're not immune, our people are human, people make mistakes. And we can't ever guarantee anything. unfortunately.
What am I to talk? I mean, I'm hoping, honestly, Lindsay, that some of our policy work is making things clearer for our staff over where they kind of have permission to go outside of the curriculum for selections. And so I think we're really clear over the different levels of instructional materials they can use. What do they have access to? Just like with 6-8 ELA last year, you know, in the review period, we posted what books are part of the core program, what are things that are in there for review. We review them ourselves before they even have access. So I think some of that is just also making sure when we're picking key resources for, that's just one part. We don't do all of it always in its entirety. We select their things that I have removed. There are things that our instructional specialists have removed for a variety of reasons. It might not just be in the context of what our community wants. Sometimes we don't feel like it even meets the standard that the program is, because there isn't a perfect anything. So, you know, although there is some level of what a staff member has to, I think a lot of our policy work will help with that, as well as if we find something in a resource in some of our programs, telling parents what we're using before the unit happens, I think is also a key strategy where parents can look. And I think that's where the parent choice kind of comes. If you have an issue with what we're providing for that ELA unit, and you know, you can let us know and we will find something to work with your student on. I see that being exactly how we'll continue to move forward in our new adoptions, because we do want everyone comfortable with what we're using. I mean, to the point of why this whole discussion is happening, you know, because we want to make sure that we are meeting the needs of our students in our community. At the end of the day, this is all of our schools. And, you know, so I'd say policy is really key for that, following up, putting clear, transparent communication out as we're reviewing. I mean, I can't go back in time for every content area and make that all visible, but the more transparent we can be by what we post, what we sell home, the better everyone feels about what's happening within our classrooms. You know, and I've been reviewing videos all year. And we are doing those type of things to try to get a handle and make sure that we're comfortable with what our students are viewing. And it takes time, I'll tell you that.
So not only from the curricular side, we put in some things, but ultimately we do have clear policy that says if you cross that line in certain areas, you know, promoting, I mean, we've got promoting, again, it's policy 5016 in conjunction with 5017. You break one of those, it's an automatic 5 days. So believe me that our staff is fully aware, and again, we do the best we can to put safeguards in. But you can only do it.
We're all human, we're all gonna make mistakes, right? I get that. The route that I have, it's not about SEL. If you want SEL, put it in there, have it for parents, want to hop in, yeah. I have no problem with that. I have a problem when we say that we can't decide to opt out. Because there has been a lack of, there is a broken trust there, but also there's reasons why people are opting out, no matter what it is, and it feels like you're not listening to us. It feels like it doesn't matter that you have 40% opting out, but only 27% of bullying, if that's the issue, or if it's scheduling. Well,
I'm not sure those are the biggest issues, so I appreciate the thing, but I would use those numbers as the comparison.
So I'm just saying that if you're going to make SEL something, which by the way, it's illegal to make it, Like, you have a way to opt out. If I wanted to go in there and say, my kid cannot take this SEL program or makerspace, I know what you're getting at with the other things. You can go in there, and anybody can do that. I'm not saying I'm knocking my kids out of makerspace, but I'm just saying that it's not legal to even do that. So why are we making it hard for our parents
Why do we need a policy?
to stop
If it's not-
opting out?
But if it's not illegal, I mean, if it's not legal, why do we need a policy? Why did we make a policy in August if it was well within parents' rights to opt out of SEL?
To make it easier for parents to be able to do it, to understand it,
Well,
not just like, our school, he asked me a question.
Yeah.
Honestly, our school did a really bad job telling us, you know, until Steve and, Ms. Matson actually did one night out of the 5, which thank you for, I really appreciate it. Out of 5 years, we had one night out. And that was something that did push out as a board member, is that we communicate to her. But I know I have put up a long time.
Just to address we're not listening to you. Back in August of 22 until now. I got one email over the weekend and this conversation with you. I don't think that I've had a conversation or another email from anybody, so. If people aren't coming to the board, whether it's via phone call or email or this. I would just say, I think that's a little heavy-handed to say we're not listening to you. People have to, it's a two-way street.
And
People have
I know
to-
people that have come to you.
Okay.
I don't feel that you listen.
I would disagree. I think I would know if people came to me and talked to me about this, yeah. But I disagree.
And I think the other thing I would say is I've been in your position of being frustrated that you think somebody was listening to you. The difference between listening to and agreeing. And so I am listening very carefully and have been. I may not agree with you, but that doesn't mean that I'm not listening. And as a board, we take, when we were doing some of our board training, you and I talked about something we didn't agree on. But we looked at what the factors were, we weighed the factors, and we came through that decision together anyway. So we won't always agree, but we are listening for the factors that I am listening for the factors that we need to consider.
And then I promise you, I swear, I hope you're listening to when the parents are opting out. That is our way of showing, for whatever reason, or if they're opting in, that's showing. I'm not saying take it away, I'm just saying that we are showing. I hope you're listening to it. Not just me, not just. Anyways, go ahead.
So just so I can, Lindsay, just to understand, so whatever we create, if it's tied at all to a social emotional competency, it should be optional.
Me personally?
You personally, yeah,
I'm not interested.
yeah, or whatever, but that's what I'm kind of understanding is hey, keep it creative and force, whatever it is, but still make it optional if you can.
Yes, ACP, if those are the things that are state mandated, I always believed the whole time I was up there too. I believe in parents' rights, like they have the right to this.
Yes, address the board of the community forum. We are going to start our regular board meeting for the month. I'm going to call that to order and we start with the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Meeting has been properly posted and all the known posting places.
Motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second discussion. All in favor, then say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Agenda. Just to clarify something, we do need to, at the end of the board meeting tonight, choose the seat for the. Anyway, it's, anyway, I forgot that, we're gonna do it at the end of the meeting. We keep that, actually after the meeting,
We'll just make sure that people.
yeah. Okay, So now we got the minutes for the 20.
Motion to approve the minutes from, Monday, January 29th, 2024, 6 P M, open session.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any additions or corrections to the minutes? Then all in favor say aye. Aye. Both same time, motion's carried. We're on to the financial report and bills.
I move we approve the voucher listing for January 23rd, 2024, to February 14th, 2024. Payroll direct deposit number 900061607 through 900061721 in the amount of $174,472.22. Wire transfer wire number 202300174 to 202300189 the amount of $279,340.84 for a total payroll of $453,813.06. For accounts payable, check number 56305 to 56351, the amount of $147,871.62. AP wire transfer 202300177 to 202300181, in the amount of $10,601.26. AP wire transfer 202300190 to 202300190, in the amount of $358.19. Credit card transactions 12224 through 12224, in the amount of $20,808.53. ACH direct deposit number 2324-00063 for 2324-00069, in the amount of $1,772.73 for a total accounts payable of $181,413.12 and total disbursements of $635,226.18.
Any questions, concerns? All in favor say aye, approving the financial report. Aye. All same time, motion carried. Delegation to be heard, no one shall speak in the delegation. Heard. So we are going on to district administrator report. We do have one donation.
Yeah, so we'd like to thank Mr. Benjamin Sinclair for his $100 donation to Merton Primary School. Looking for a motion to accept the donation as presented.
So moved. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign, motion's carried. And we have no personnel action. So we now are on to information from the superintendent.
Yep, so, no information, we'll just move right over to the community reports. No open records to take back and no open records. Significant call. The next one is policy and personnel committee. Again, we will get into these as first reads. One is the continuing the forward policy review, and big thank you to Nicole and Merton, policies. So they keep coming. Again, we'll get to the first reading of those formally a little later in the meeting, as well as a first read of the administrative proposal for paid time off. So we'll talk about those a little bit later in new business. Strategic planning, we met 2 times, and again, the team continues to work collaboratively together, and we're kind of trying to narrow down what are those big ideas, big buckets, and then really starting to concisely put those together as a group and continue to move forward. A big thank you to our folks who participated in our strategic planning survey. Last check, I think we had how many survey respondents? Last meeting, they say 180-ish, so.
We vastly exceeded the number of community responses they generated.
Yeah, so again, so we have pushed that out to as many HOAs. We've talked to the villages, Village of Lisbon, Village of Merton. So again, a big thank you to some of those community partners too, as well as our family, staff, and communities. So we have our next meeting is March 5th, I do, right? March 5th, 6th, right around there. as well. So again, more to come on that. Again, we are on track for a proposal to the board later this spring. So.
Okay, then we're on to new business, and we have got, 16th grade social emotional
All right,
learning.
so, I'd like to invite, Mr. Newcomer up, and, Jenny's there too, if she wants to, but, Mr. Newcomer has to read. I think it's up to you that want to stay here, I'll see if you guys a copy, okay, of that. Depends on where you want to have the discussion. No, Sarah, walk on. You click Maria?
It's in front of Dean.
Oh, the front gate, oh,
Yeah.
thank you. Sorry. All right. He's gonna be referencing. We referenced it tonight as the Arrowhead graduate profile. That. Like, whoever's in the next. You're in. All right, I guess I want to start with first is, I would like to ground myself, it was super important, it was so awesome to see our students standing here. And seeing them just explore their different strengths, their different areas, creativity, they're awesome staff, it's basically volunteers are trying to do it with our students. Last month, you got to see some of our other intermediate schools, students on their service project, how they make connections with the community, even some of our students, they talked about last week, but even this week, this month, I should say, when, you know, these students for our student newspaper, professional things, they reach out to me, can we interview them, so they set up a camera time to meet, and sending the questions ahead of time, and then they always come up with a couple people to record, and they ask, can we record you, or can, you know, things like that, so learning a lot of really cool skills that way, and it's, so when we get to see what's really important, why we do our jobs every day, why I have the best job in the world, you got to see it, you know, the last 12 months as you stand here and see those awesome kids. So as we were looking at this, I mean, there's a lot of conversation. I can probably speed some things up because we've had a lot of conversation around this. But as Jenny and I have talked, has talked, but also brought this to our entire staff. We wanted to say, well, what's important? We wanted to design a class that we think is important for all students. We think this is, and you know, we got feedback from the staff, and we're open for students. We're not married. I always think when you come with a proposal, you got to come with a proposal like, you know, start from scratch. Here's some things we find really important, and here's some things that we see in the trenches, in the arena every day with the students. And so, when we talk, there are some other things that we talk about. Yes, we're talking about creating this class. And we're, you know, as far as, it's a little bit messy because a lot of that's, we talked a lot about ACP. You know, with ACP, if you're talking about digital citizenship, does that kind of blend out? So could you start talking a little bit about cyber bullying, how you treat people online, those all kind of blend together. Are they ACP? Yes. But we don't want to hide their SEL competencies either, because that's just where they're located. We're trying to be as transparent as possible. And so with this piece, we're going to go through this, but just to give you an idea also what what sometimes when we think about the proposal says like opting out of anything SEL too. So with that broad proposal, I've had examples of a parent sitting in front of me and saying, Steve, can you have Mrs. Massing go to this class with kids, this grade level, and talk to them about a little bit about treating, how they treat each other? And I have to say I can't, right? Because or if we have to create an opt-out for that. Or if I wanted, I have somebody that I know that he doesn't know the state, but he's got talent. I'd like to bring him in next year. He talks a little bit about puts on a little bit of a short, talks a little bullying, being kind to others. Well, we have to create an opt-out form, you know, to create a form to opt in, create a study hall. Those things are not, I mean, that's not real typical, right? It's not real easy to do that.
When we look at our class right here, really a lot of the things we're talking about, we want to infuse in this class, and this is what we want to have dialogue. These are future ready skills. They're future ready skills. We want kids to be able to, time management, all these things, and I'm going to share some of these key pieces. So if you look at our goal, when we develop the course that all students will take during the quarter Explorer Wheel, this will connect to the Arrowhead graduate profile, but all of our Explorer Wheel classes connect. When you think about our FACE class, it has babysitting components to it, to baking, to textiles, to our art that has 2D art, 3D art, textiles. They are all things that kind of connect to that next level as well. And so when we look at that, we wanted to say, well, what, as a staff, we got feedback from our teachers too, and then from Jenny, who deals with and myself, thinking about what are some general buckets we think are important, and how do they connect with that profile learner also at Arrowhead as well as we continue to build our kids through. So we look at the 4 major buckets of self-awareness. Oh, sorry. Self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and connection skills. So I just want to talk a little bit briefly about those 4 buckets that we think are important and how they connect. So if you think about self-awareness, that's knowing your own strengths, your weaknesses. A self-aware middle school student might recognize when they're feeling anxious before a test and to use strategies. In our student survey, they're telling us they're stressed out about a test, they're stressed out about homework. Students are telling us that. We want to be able to provide them with some ability, some strategies. I'm not going to read all of these. The KD, there's knowledge, dispositions, and skills that Arrowhead calls them. So if you look at it, they're correlated to what you have in your handout. But if you look at some of the things we talked about, understanding strengths, developing good character, embracing a good mindset, those kind of go along with the same type of knowledge and dispositions that we're also looking for when they go to the next level there. Now, self-management, these are, as far as what does that mean? I'll give you another example. We had seniors, Jenny Manson had some seniors and juniors come in here to talk to our 8th graders. We had a huge attendance. The kids loved it. They listened to these students were talking about. Really, the one thing they're telling us at the bottom there is how do you create a study schedule to prioritize schoolwork? You're going to need that when you get there. They show some really cool examples, different ways they did it between digital post notes. Our kids are really engaged with that piece, and that would be a great thing we'd love to do every year part of our class is to be able to do that. We did it at lunch, so it was an optional thing, but I think it's a really cool thing, and our kids really benefited from that. Again, here are some of the self-management pieces as far as learning to plan, study skills, understanding perseverance. I'm not going to read them all, but perseverance and resilience, goal setting, organization, and these are the knowledge, skills, and dispositions that match up. So, for example, Maria talked a little about the course planning piece. That's K1 for there. That's post-secondary. That would be our transition planning. Social awareness definition. Read the whole piece of it to you. However, an example. So we talked a little bit about. I'm going to give a different example up here. You can see here, it's kind of that emotional IQ, but the big piece of it is when we talk about bullying and harassment. Our kids in middle school and kind to each other? Absolutely. That's developmentally what happens with kids at this age, and they're learning to do that. Majority of our school or students aren't bullied. Majority of them aren't the bullies, right? But the majority of them are going to be either a bystander or an upstander. That's what we'd like to be able to give them as tools. Do they say something? Do they see something? Do they say something and do something? Or do they not? Right? And giving them tools to be able to do that. And so that is what we're looking with that piece here. Again, you can see that as far as respect, bullying, harassment, kindness, and some of the skills and dispositions there match up with the file there. And then finally, the last one we're looking at this is the cooperation, teamwork, communication, a lot of 21st century skills, they used to call that, right? With the middle school student with strong relationship skills, work collaboratively with classmates in a project, act actively, contribute ideas, listen to other perspectives, resolving conflicts. And so those are the buckets that we're talking about. You can see here, again, just a quick correlation of skills as far as working well with others, conflict resolution, friendship skills, using effective communication skills, and that's critical thinking, collaboration, communication. And so, let me go back here. So I think we're just opening it up for discussion, because our staff completely agrees we need to do something different. What we're doing right now isn't working. And so, you know, it doesn't, you know, and I'm gonna just address why I don't want it to be elected. I think these are too important to be elected, in my opinion. I'm not saying we don't ever, we have ability for opt-outs for certain things like that, we have that, but as far as we want to be able to develop some things that we think are super important that also connect with our ACP course. And so we just want to open up the conversation and get some feedback and say, where do we go from here? This is what we think. Where do we go? Where do we do next? So if we get the board back and we'll have that dialogue, right? Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. You want to sit up front? I'm sure you'll be questioning.
The night you're looking for from us is, say, okay, go forward with developing.
Correct. Yep. So if it's the will of the board to move forward, again, our recommendation is to move forward with a required, again, when I say move forward, is working again in some framework that we feel is important, that there's going to be a crossover into an STL component. Again, we can continue to beef up the ACP as was highlighted, but there's some things that are unavoidable that what we believe are ACP worthy. DPI may call them something different. So what we would like to do, and again, I think Maria's kind of highlighted it and Steve highlighted it before, is what are our goalposts? If it's the will of the board, what are our goalposts? And then we can start to talk about how we want to collaboratively do that together, whether that's surveying families or our staff, or again, just kind of moving forward. We just kind of, before we start moving forward, what do we want to move forward with? If we don't want to move forward, we still would then say, okay, we will take all social emotional SEL out and then fill the rest of our ACP class with non-SEL things. And again, it still would be a required class.
To be clear, when we're talking about this isn't Vendax, ACP, and you've got your SEL, but there's overlap there. And so when we say, well, we just want to do ACP, if we say we're not going to do any SEL, there are skills listed that we cannot do because they fall in the SEL place. They can't. We're taking that mid-range out for ACP and SEL. So that's, I want to be clear.
Yep.
That label has. So I'd say as a member of the student union, maybe I was very appreciative of the thoughtfulness and the responsiveness of administration to both parents and students and faculty and staff talking about what it is that they think is needed. And I'm hearing this proposal from the Student Achievement Committee, I was convinced that this is something that we need to do, that what we're doing now is not working, and that it is something that supports all of the things that we are trying to do for the school. Right, we have a great academic trajectory. We want to continue that academic. We have things we need to come up to average. This helps to support that too. So I thought it well thought out proposal.
I think the board needs to also
considered policy work, if we're gonna have this discussion, because I know I brought up ACP, but if you also go to policy number 363.2, which is the responsible, acceptable, safe use of technology resources, go to bottom of page 2, top of page 3. I think to what Steve talked about, cyberbullying, different things. So again, pass this one after we pass the SEO. Pursuant to federal law, students in grades 4 through 8 shall receive education about the following: safety and security while using email, chat rooms, social media, and other forms of direct electronic communications. Dangers inherent with online disclosure of personal identifiable information. The consequences of unauthorized access, example, hacking, cyberbullying, and other unlawful, inappropriate activities by student online. Again, I think, you know, that falls into, can be interpreted, falls into that. And so, you know, same with the ACP. And so,
And we were saying, if we don't reconsider this, we actually have to go back to the policies we passed last year and take all of that part out.
well, we would be in violation of that. I mean, theoretically, I mean, parent of the meeting and trying to tie that to different policies that are in place, parents' rights, there's a policy on parents' rights, you know, all these things, it's all intertwined. And it all comes down to, you know, interpretation by PPI and others as to what is quote unquote social emotional learning versus what is ACP. That's to your point. There's a gray area where these things are. So.
I'll say, I'm thinking about it, as a teacher, when I know what foundation pieces have come forward with someone, I can use that vocabulary, I can refer to things because I know everybody there has been exposed to them. If I've got students in my class, college, and even all have the same thing, when I have people who didn't have those kind of classes, I don't get to utilize those topics in the vocabulary if you have to teach them again. But if everybody knows that, I get to start from that point that we all understand. We came to this place, we've had this, and the next teacher sees them, and in the next year, I get to utilize that part. So I also think that affects how we run the school and what kind of progress we can make in the goals that we like to have, so that they're arrowhead ready, workplace ready, and when we talk to, we're your audience focused as a college, right, what our employers want, the things that our employers want are in this proposal. These are the things that they need from premises, our hospitals in the area, our manufacturers, and everyone else. So this is not only middle school and high school. And see, this is what our mission is, to prepare them so that they, who they're going to be as adults and what skills they have to use.
Maria, Steve, James, where would, what resources, curriculum resources would we use in a hypothetical of creating something?
Well, it depends on the area. Like, there's a lot of different companies. Common Sense Media has some great digital literacy lessons. Waiting that we could pull to enhance on some of those pieces. There's a lot of programs on organization. I think from the note-taking side, what I see here at the intermediate is, you know, it's nice because we only have like maybe 2 teachers teaching science and social, but everyone teaches how to take notes different. And I know from my own thing, you know, coming up, working with the staff on a common way of seeing note-taking and some of our other strategies. Organizations, another thing I'd really like to tie up. I get feedback on, you know, some social studies does digital and post to parents, like what work is due. Everyone does something a little different. And at Arrowhead, they do nothing. So we really would like to begin to have those conversations with staff so we can be on the same page, so we can help kids to be successful with what they're going to have next year. And sometimes that means, you know, introducing a whole bunch of different ways of organizing themselves and say what works for you. I mean, we do that as adults, right? Like, I'm still paper and pencil on some things, and I'm still very much tied to my Google Calendar to like, I have to check it at my phone. So, you know, everything's going to work different for kids. What's our experience that we can do what can we align better with our staff? So when they get to Arrowhead, they have some strategies that they have in their toolbox to say like, I know I can, this worked for me. Instead of our kids having to adapt to individual teachers and what their style is, because we're not consistent on that. So these are just things that have been on my radar that I would really like to tackle, but they just stick into this omnious place of a very big umbrella. That's where I would want to see somewhere. And a lot more of really tying the interest profiles our students spend time taking, what their strengths are, what classes that they have, and really tying it to what Arrowhead has to offer. What I love about being an Arrowhead feeder, or even for my own daughter, is you can take just about anything there. I mean, you have automotive, you have welding, you have engineering, you have, I mean, like you name it, and it's great because they have a big school to do that. But I think sometimes our kids aren't picking what might be best for them for peer pressure or different things. We even see that in our own elective offerings here, to be honest. They're taking it because a friend's taking it. What we want to do is have kids really reflect on like, what might be an interest, what might I be called to do, discern to do later on that I can try it out. You know, I like to pick on my daughter. I mean, she thought I was crazy about business law, and she decided like, wow, that was like really good class, mom, you know? But you sometimes have to, you know, put those things on your radar from the profiling. So that's, I would say, a chunk of work that I've been talking to Jenny about, at least on the curricular side, that I would like to see cleaned up in the next couple of years. Again, it doesn't immediately happen, but if we have like little goalposts, then I know I can work with the teachers. What do we want to do with note taking? How do we want to do with assignment notebooks? And what do we want to provide in a class? I don't see the class being any different than what we do now, which would be posting day-to-day lessons and having that available and online for parents to see. Just like I do for the new content areas that we're.
I'm not trying to second step necessarily, but since we already own it, are there pieces there that you wish you could use?
In the intermediate class, the first unit of every second step lesson is on organization and goal setting. Could we use that as a resource? We could, but again, we don't want that to be a barrier. There's plenty of other things that we can do that doesn't require second step. There's lots
And I'm thinking
of curriculums.
cost wise. My question was cost wise. It's being paid for a curriculum. Would we be paying for a different curriculum if we already have one that does it? Like I said, I'm not tied to it. I'm just asking about it.
I mean, we're in the last year. Next year would be our 5th year of our agreement with second step. So I'm not really worried if we need to find something again. I think that's more long-term from my perspective, Rebecca, to say, where are we with strategic planning and how do we want to overall look at that? I'm not tied to, in the last year of a renewal cycle, believing we need to do it. And, you know, we're happy to show what those lessons are. To be honest, I think we can do better.
I think there's a lot of areas that could do better. I mean, a lot of the area schools use different pieces of different things, like Maria said, with like the study skills and organization. With the bullying prevention, several of the 6 through 8 just use different components. Like one school does lead, one uses Gen Zen. So, and then they use something else for like the bullying prevention and things like that. I'm not recommending or saying any of those are something that I've, you know, explored. But I think we can piece together a lot of different things to make it work.
And I don't want to say piece is like a bad thing. I mean,
No.
This is what curriculum developers do. It's something that I feel confident we can work through. And, you know, unlike at the other first grade where we have primary school, where we have every teacher delivering the curriculum, where it's harder to control like delivery. You know, here at the intermediate school, it's Jenny. So she's my unicorn, and, you know, we can work with that together. You know, but the delivery would be exactly, you know, as same as it could be tied to the curriculum. We have one person delivering it in Jen during the class.
Okay. Just to clarify something you said. This meeting this is a discussion on, there's not a will of the board in this meeting.
No.
I think if the board.
We're looking for some direction. We are looking for some direction.
No, I know, but it's,
What's the next discussion?
it's, so. I approach this as it's discussion. If we want to continue that discussion the second time, we could do that in March,
Mhm.
at which time you could have more information, you could continue, or you could ask for recommendations. So I'm approaching this meeting, just so we're clear. As a discussion, this wasn't a, jumping to will the board to create something. This was the opening discussion.
Thank you, because I was gonna say that.
And that's different than what you said.
Right, we would, in the ideal world, we'd like to have a robust discussion. And then if there's any guidance that you can give within the goalposts, so that we can move forward. That would be even better. If there's something we can start working on.
So I just have a couple of questions. One, just so when we come back together, I'm not looking for any answers tonight. Tailgating off at Andrew's comment, I took this as a discussion. What would the cost be? Costs associated with putting this new program together? Is the cart in front of the horse in the sense that we are in the final year of second step, and are we renewing it? Is it going to be overlap for K through 4th? In that upcoming year to what is coming here? What policies need to be touched and looked at? Are we in violation of any policies that we just passed? So those are all the questions that I have. I think it's all great information, and I 1000% appreciate the work that went into this proposal. I think it's fantastic. I just want to make sure we have all the information, or I have all the information.
Nikki, can you restate your questions, please? I just want to make sure I have
Sure.
an answer.
Are there any new costs involved? So we are in agreement with second step. We have 1 more year left of that curriculum. So are we taking on an additional cost for the next year to implement this in the 6th through 8th grade? And then if it's successful, and we go forward with that, are we duplicating costs because of what we're doing at primary or what we might be doing at primary for next year when second step is over? Does that make sense? I know it's kind of long.
No, I mean, that one's easy.
Okay.
Primary has physical kits, so we don't have a reoccurring cost with them. We purchase the kits, that's what they're using. The cost on the 5-year comes from just the intermediate, because that's an online component to it. So,
So we have 1 more year left that we've already paid for.
for up here, that's
So
correct.
is there going to be an additional cost to implement this a year earlier than what it would be up for discussion when second step is up for renewal?
I think that would cost, depend on what resources we would look at using. I can think of a lot of open ed resources, OERs that we could use that could be very cost neutral for this, to be honest, but I don't want to say 100%. Because I think that would be answered when we kind of know if we should be looking at anything. And I selfishly want the discussion because I'm precariously balancing more than a job right now.
Yeah.
So I just am trying to prioritize my own work
Absolutely.
between now and June. So, the costs would be, we could do it very cost neutral, meaning nothing. There would be some curriculum costs either way, because I would need Jenny to work with me in the summer.
So another question was, what policies need to be looked at, reviewed in order to make this all removed from under the umbrella, as everybody's referring to it? What policies, Andrew or Maria?
Andrew listed most of them that we would have, which is our technology, use policy and our ACP policy. Right now, they're in conflict, so that's why we're talking. You know, we would either have to go back and change those and remove them out of our current policies, or we would have to say we're comfortable with those saying in our ACP policy, knowing that they're under the cell umbrella.
Could you email those policy numbers as well as the opt-in or opt-out form to each of the board members, just so they have it handy for discussion purposes? As the form stands now. Thank you.
So this is, so we talked about as a board, making sure we identify all the factors. This is what I've heard so far. We talked about administration recommendation. We talked about here, we talked earlier about parent choice and opt-in, opt-out, curricular choices and constraints, timeline constraints, which I have another question on, costs and policies. Are there other areas that we need to consider?
Right, I came into this meeting with the idea that what we needed to be able to tell our staff members is, are we dead set, we're gonna stay with a opt-in program? Or are we willing to say, okay, go forward developing a program that we can all live with, because we will have all the stakeholders involved. If you remember when this was put together with to get it done before that sign-up day and the beginning of the school year, we really did not give our staff any input time to discuss with us their concerns about the FCL program and being in the opt-in program. That was it was fast track considered.
But I don't think that it was fast tracked intentionally. I think that was just the timing of things. I don't believe, at least speaking for myself, that was unintentional. I was brand new to the board. Ron suggested a new meeting. You say, hey, okay, let's go. We got to get it done before registration. So we did it. I don't think it was the intention of anybody.
But we did not get any. We did not get any input from our staff.
And have we gotten any now? I know Steve and Maria have talked, but have you gotten any input from any staff?
No, I'm willing to sit here and say, I'm open to going forward to look at this. I think we have the opportunity, because we've discussed it before, that parents do have the ability to look at whatever lesson's gonna be before it's presented, right? That would be available.
Is it available, or do they have to come in the office and do it?
Right now, with our social studies classes, those lessons, I mean, they have a parent sheet with all the links and the information that we use for math. Every daily lesson activity and what's covered is posted. So as we've been doing new curriculum, they get posted on our website. Online, I would do something very similar. And kind of like with social studies, frankly, we put every mentor text that we do onto that at-home sheet, and we link every video and article. I would be more than happy. We would be doing the same thing. I think it's especially important where, frankly, sometimes it's easy to sneak some things in. So I would be fine with being extremely transparent in whatever we're doing. I mean, that's the negative part of second step, right? It's not easily accessible to parents to go in due to their copyright to see or whatever. And, I'm a mom, I get that. I want to see what they're doing. I know what's happening, I definitely could. I don't see why we wouldn't treat this any different than we would any of our new classes that are going.
One other concern I have is, was it 18 months ago that we did the opt-in, opt-out? Is that?
July, August of 2022.
We all set some standards for that too, as far as communication went, and when we were having a discussion at the strategic planning meeting, I was still hearing, well, my kid just wanted a study hall because I don't even know what SEL means. So that could be part of this 50%, is the kids saying, I just want a study hall, you know, I wanna hang out with my friends, just fine. But I still feel 18 months later, we have not done our job informing of what this really is. Still a concern.
Well, the general information is online for anybody. If you go into the plans for the copyright in Maria, it's not, so I mean.
Do you student register Sienna George?
I don't, but my point being is that the overview, having had it here somewhere, is on our website, so people can see what the lessons are about. So that's step one. And
I
then
think
step two,
before step one, you have to know that it's there. We're not even saying, visit our website, so look, the information can be found here. Click here for a brief overview. Is an email being sent out to 6, 7, 8 people prior to registration? Hey, and this is all just devil's advocate. I'm not speaking one way or the other, but we requested a lot of this 18 months ago, and as of last week, I was still hearing some of the same things from parents. Well, my child wanted a study hall, so we just opted out. I don't even know what SEL is. Well, yes, they're important things that our children need to learn. Personally, I feel it is a parent's choice because it's not a core class, just like any other elective. I feel that they should have the right to choose what is best for their family. So, and as far as going back to this, it said discussion, so I did not take it as any action being taken.
That's good. Question for timeline. So thinking about this next fall. What kind of timeline are we looking at before you need something tonight for anything to happen, or is March? What kind of timeline?
I'll take it up from Maria.
Well, I mean, there's a couple ways we can look, and I mean. First of all, if we want to make a social emotional learning elective, then we would have to have that class done at the time that we have kids register for electives. We've been trying to get better at doing that, like in May. So I would be working with whoever for an elective class. So that's part one. So if I had to work backwards, and I'd say time for us to develop the course descriptions, what that would be. You know, and is that something, to Nikki's point, we still have second steps. So we're saying you're opting in the second step during this elective class. The problem with that option, why I don't like it frankly, is it's not a quarter. It's not a quarter worth of curriculum. So we'd still be developing something. So I'm just being honest why I don't like that option, just from a part of it still would mean curriculum work for Jenny and myself to develop, you know, I think there's really 30 some lessons in second step if we did them all. We already cut it down to 22 off of our most important ones. So we would, you know, still need some stuff for that to be an elective class. Second step itself will not fit a quarter's worth of class because it's every other day in our elective offerings. So that's
how many days in a quarter or an every other day class?
well, they're by semester. So electives are every other day for a semester, which equates to a quarter, 45 days.
ACP is a full quarter.
ACP right now, what makes a 45 what makes our current class up? We have ACP activities in Zello that we do. We do some digital literacy in there, and we do some social emotional second step. When students opt out, they only opt out right now of the social emotional learning lessons. They stay in for these. we would like to enhance these, that's the conversation. To have it be, you know, not opt out, so it's not consistent opt out that they always have a study hall, like every day, it doesn't happen that many days in a row.
And what is the fourth one? So you listed 3. So
That is the 3 in that quarter class.
well, that makes up of.
What?
Financial literacy.
Oh, we do some
Thank you.
financial literacy, thank you.
Okay.
Mhm. Which is part of an ACP requirement, honestly, in the state just made a new state law on personal finance graduation requirements starting for kids next school year, but I try to forget that because that's high school and it doesn't really, but again, we like to want kids to be smart about debt and loans. So that's some of the work change. So that is the elective way. The other way, as far as timeline, to build the class. Again, I would just need enough time so I could plan my summer work. We have very many heavy lifts this summer, as the board knows. We have the huge Act 20 requirement as far as personal reading plans, tight timelines, personal things, and all of the curriculum work for all the new K through 5 ELA work. So I just would need to make sure that my planning teams, I like to have that all scheduled before staff goes to summer. Because it's really hard to email staff in the summer and say, can we work on this? We need to have those days planned. So I would probably say really to allot the time. It would do that. The cost, frankly, compensation time for Jenny, and I will be well over my contracted days this summer already. So that's another consideration for the board. Because I'm not year round.
With everything else going on, is there an immediate need to do this, or can this be put off till 25 when second step needs to be reviewed anyway? And you have a greater discussion, so we aren't adding more to your already full plate between primary, upcoming curriculum, things like that.
I believe from at least hearing from our staff here and from Steve's side, that is not the desire of the school. It's been part of their culture and climate work and their school action plan work. So I'm hesitant to say, you know, I have capacity. It's just not within my contract. So that's, you know, a piece of it, but you know, that we do have heavy lifts. Now, this isn't affecting the primary building right now, as our discussion has been, which is a good thing, because a lot of the heavy lifts, the other heavy lifts I'm doing are on the primary side, at least for day-to-day running of that. And honestly, the heavy lift is, you know, between Jenny and myself. And that's fine. I like Jenny.
I like Jenny.
You know, so I mean, but I'm just being upfront about answering some of your questions
No,
and
I
putting the
appreciate it.
perspective out. Of, you know, I gave Ron some rough comparisons of what I'm thinking for my contract and just the additional. Like right now for later for the board, so.
Are we, as part of this, can we survey parents? You know, so we talked about, we have a data point of opt-out, talked about anecdotal evidence of this or that. Is that something we'd be willing to do between now and March to try to get a more clear understanding of why?
Do we need to educate our parents first?
I think you'd have to specifically say, not just, do you want this or not, this is what is in the proposal, what don't you want? Right, so.
But I'm thinking, why did you opt out?
Oh, right, the white.
So is it because you don't know, so that goes to an education piece? Okay. Is it because you really don't like what's in the program? Is it because your child wanted to study all this? Because, you know, whatever. That's what I'm trying to understand.
Sometimes I worry that the national narrative that people are hearing, they apply to every school. And I don't believe that our staff looking at that in any way at all. They are looking to bring the skills from SEL that our children need. And, that's why I think they came forward with a proposal. That's why, yeah, you say we haven't heard it before the last 18 months. Well, they're coming to us with the idea that, what we're doing isn't working. And they're saying a shortfall for our students, and they're the ones that are gonna see it, we're not. And, I am open to say to them, so they know that where the goalposts are, is I would like us to go forward. My heels aren't dug in, that we have to have an only option forward. If the work that goes into it, we find out that after people know what our staff wants to present to their children, and they still want to have a complete option program, so be it. But I'm betting that if everybody knew what was the objectives were here, I think we have a vote.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is. Right, I'm gonna make an assumption coming from. You're open to surveying to understand why they're not doing it, but at the same time surveying them as to, would you be open to a class that covers this darkness?
Right, I think we need to have everybody on the same page.
Okay, so the next question that I have is. How does this discussion impact what's happening outside of this from the standpoint of strategic plan? Are we to ignore that data point as part of this discussion, because the strategic plan is going to cover years out, not today? Is that?
I'm seeing this discussion right now as a short-term solution, whereas the strategic planning will be the long.
And when we talked about the strategic plan, we have there's the, since we're talking about things that need 5 years, this particular conversation we put on it's not in the strategic plan because it's a short term. Like we had different sheets we put on that. Because it is something we're talking about now, so this isn't in there for the long term, but it doesn't mean that we should be talking about. That makes sense.
But
Okay, so.
I've worked with you long enough, I was able to figure it out. Then we talk.
Where it's not a table base, it's a supporter of the.
Correct. So we came up with the factors, and the factors you sorted into things that will take 5 years to accomplish. And things that you're already doing right now. And this is the thing we're doing right now. The long-term thought about what we wanted to grow into or don't, that's a 5-year conversation. So the shorter term conversation is not in the strategic plan because it's not a 5-year plan.
Not a simple way, but something for the board to consider, might be directing administration to say, you can follow our ACP or approved policy. And that would give us enough to develop a class. That's one thing without taking a whole bunch of time. I just throw out there for you. And that's something, again, we're here because we have conflicting motion. We have conflicting things. A board motion and conflicting policies. We just need to know from this discussion, we can definitely get all these things. I'm taking notes to that. And but even that goalpost would allow us to do what I think we would like to get moving on. But again, that's just something, again, just trying to be transparent. Things on there, following cell competencies. I would
I appreciate that.
really hate for people to come back and say, you know, you taught something or you're doing this and it's that. So I'm,
You bring us back to an important point, which is that we have policies that conflict. And so one way or another, we need to decide. So
yeah, that, I mean,
the approved policy is.
when you're asking for timeline,
Yes.
what we have to say is, what do you want us to follow? That's what I would like to know.
That's a good start.
Well,
Recognizing the problems we have, right? What's that, it makes it clear, the policy that we're discussing, and gives it says specifically the things that.
Well, and then it also references a lot of Wisconsin state statutes and federal laws, so how much of this is actually touched?
well, that was on that.
I would say we're-
363.2, I mean, it says pursuant to federal law,
Right.
we are to teach this, and so.
I'm not
I think I brought it up, I think I emailed you or talked to you on it last week, Friday about this, of like, so are we risking federal dollars? I mean, we don't get a ton of federal dollars, but like, if we are audited, or, again, you've been in education longer than I've been on board, so like, when we have a policy that says per federal law, but then we technically have conflicting policy, maybe we're not talking about cyberbullying, where does that leave? Where does that put the district at risk?
I just want to clarify, we're teaching it. But right now, it's in an opt-out portion. So I don't want people in this
Okay,
room or
teaching it
people
some-
watching it to say, we're in violation of your policies or whatever. That wouldn't be a true statement. We are definitely doing what we need to do. But right now, it's an opt-out piece. It's a very slippery slope for us. To meet that, right now, if you're opting out, we're not meeting all of those requirements as we believe as they're defined.
Right.
Defined.
The point, I mean, I understand the semantics of rephrasing, and I appreciate that, but the point is like, if the feds. Look at this and they want this taught to all, but we're not, would they would view that potentially different. And so does that put our district at risk one way or another?
I think it would be a core class of the feds.
I don't know the answer to it, right?
These are questions that I think,
Yeah, that's what.
you know.
Well, some we are teaching did it right now. People are not opting out of all the, we are opting them out of the cell lessons and second step. There are definitely some things that we're talking about with digital literacy with all kids. We know we need more time to cover what those are.
So. Random thoughts, so bear with me, I know.
Yeah.
You're gonna wanna slap me. Instead of just a straight opt-out form. Why, and I know this is another nightmare, but. In an effort to communicate everything that's also going on. Why isn't there a box? Check what you want them opted out, like I had a family come up to me. A family member had committed suicide and that was their whole reason they opted out of SEL is. They were fearful that was going to bring up stuff in school in front of peers. And that it was too new, it was too raw, and they didn't want their child put in that situation, right? So that's where I feel strongly about parents' choice.
Maybe you can ask a little bit about that?
Yes.
Isn't that something that they can talk to the administration and the teacher and that, like, so if somebody comes and tells me that this in class is HL communications, we have a lot of topics. I'm sensitive to it. We figure that part out without the school giving a policy for it. They say, this has happened, this is something we're really,
That happens in health class.
Yeah.
We have, students, exactly what you're talking about, or some anxiety pieces where they know this is what's happening in health.
Sure.
so we
And
still
then
address
we-
it.
yeah, then we-
Manage, which is not sitting in the policy.
And then they don't have, they don't.
Again, just throwing this out there, so is there, instead of a simple opt-in, opt-out, okay, my child has permission to work. In digital literacy and. Give me another one.
Understand what it is, yeah.
Yeah.
Is
Organizational self-awareness.
Well, you're last.
developing.
They can select classes or subjects, topics that they can opt out of. For those reasons.
That, so, because, yeah, that's what I'm thinking back, so we.
Yeah,
That
it's
addresses
still
somewhere.
a planning nightmare. I
It
get it.
does, it also, but it also goes away from like one curriculum for all, so then, as it comes back as a teacher to me, I can't count on that people will have been. This is language that we use, this is a way that we talk about these things, because it won't have been a common. It won't have been a common course for everyone, so I see that as a downside to. Opting out.
So if we're comfortable, I think what Maria summarized, is if we take a look at our academic and career planning policy, there's a lot in there that's some overlap in there.
Technology, there's another.
We can talk about our technology with the cyber, because we do currently, we offer it, and even like our academic and career planning, the district shall provide access to, whether that access is taken up or not. So, I think our next steps is what we can do is kind of take a look at this, bring forward some ACP prioritizing things here, and then you can see what fell off. When I say you, the board can see what fell off, and you can have maybe a discussion around those items that, are no longer there, that were tied to ACP, that are truly more true SEL competencies, when I start to think of, respect, bullying, and harassment, developing empathy, and compassion, some more things that are more connected to a social awareness type of strength.
So, and just to be clear, I think it's a good way for one to see that, but I think you were starting, I think that's important. It does not come back to one of the things that we were concerned of, it's that we're worried about, and that's. I'd be worried if it was 3% of people who were worried about it. So it's not what is the percentage of something that's happening to your kid, it's pretty. So. I think it's a good starting point. I don't want to lose that thread because it was one of the recommendations that came from administration that was responsive to two forms of data.
Right, and maybe that's something longer term, if, again, there's a short game and then a long game there. But again, that would be something that. We'll discuss too.
28% of kids that if it truly is 20%, that's 101, 102 kids are worried about. We're about 360 kids, right? Okay.
That's a lot.
So I don't know what's that. So
Are you guys comfortable going forward with what you've heard tonight?
It's clear as mud, right?
I think.
This is what I think I got. This is what I think I got. The board is suggesting administration to look at a potential survey that would go out to parents that would be twofold. One, asking why they either opted out if they opted out their student, why? And another one, another part of that survey would to review some of the skills, perhaps in our current policies that they're already listed. The ACP policy and the digital literacy. And I have to think, we probably have something in our comprehensive guidance policy, but that's lot of work. And go in there and see, are people struggling with those concepts overall? I heard that the board would like administration to get to them the opt-in and the opt-out form, how it is exactly into Skyward, which we work with Dawn on. And I don't even have to communicate with her. She's here tonight. And then the board would like administration to review policies that we think where this, I will say, contradiction in motions are mostly affecting, because I'm also saying, I brought up in student achievement in October 22, it actually also contradicts our already board approved ACP plan that we're required to have for our education for employment law. So I'll try to find anything where I feel like we're in a little conflict. So policies and probably any board approved items. And the board would like that information. Did I miss anything?
thank you for all your money.
That's okay. Is everyone comfortable with those next steps? Did I gather what your feedback is, and then after we get that to you, there will be a discussion at our next board meeting.
Put it on under discussion. Voted decision. So they
Well, I think we do that at the end of the meeting. We all, any additions, right? So that's probably the spot where we should handle that.
See, it wasn't even that muddy.
Okay,
You did great. Thank you.
we're gonna move on to business. We have the first reading.
And Steve will appreciate it.
Like, hand it back to the ground. You wanna go back to the committee with that after hearing what we heard tonight, and you want us to do it?
Well, I would like to hear from, so it's Nikki and I, obviously Troy dropped off, but I'd like to hear from you two. Well, the thing that I wrote. Well, yeah. So, right, so I think that the question would have, just broadly is, we heard that it's a few or a handful. What exactly would that, like, that number, so no, I think coming back to committee with that, it would be appropriate, but I also wanna know where you guys would stand on it.
I would be very much in favor of grandfather this thing. I also know my business. If somebody got a melody and breaks down what they bought in the first place or what they're paying for, it still deserves it. So I hate taking something away from somewhere that somebody's already had.
Well, I liked the options that you put together here because with the thought of this is what is important to the person and hearing that this is not meeting, this is supposed to help you feel more valued, so that's not your grandfathering, which I thought that would make that reduces that perception that hasn't been right.
And I agree with Dean and yourself, and to feel what Andrew always says, and we're not gonna get this right the first time, so. I appreciate you guys, calling it out, because it is hard to represent a large group of people in all different walks of life and all different situations,
So
so.
over 100 people, we're trying to put.
And we're not educators, so that's a whole different animal.
So I can put that, you bring it back to committee or just put it.
Well, we need to know anything about impact or
We have
financial.
7 state meetings,
7.
people, yep, and it's an extra day, so they have minimal financial impact.
But everybody's.
That's fine, no.
Can we, does it say action on here?
No, it's just, it's got literally for people.
Okay.
It's got policies.
It's discussion, so I can put that in.
Okay, so the next time it comes back to us, it'll show the can.
And I asked before we move on, if there's other feedback that you got that we're not.
Yeah, there was one individual that wanted all personal time. Not a delineation between personal days and sick. What else? I think there's just a lot of conversation about the, I think about marriage, she talked about how you get paid after the 60 day, after you've accumulated 60 days, so there's talk about the mechanics of that.
Yeah, there'll be a communication kind of a graphic that, because now all of a sudden you go from 2 buckets, personal and sick time, you actually go to 3 buckets, personal, sick, and then FMLA. So, how that gets communicated out, how people understand it. The goal is a bunch of retention, because ultimately the longer you're here, you earn the opportunity to get more compensation for those days. We heard that. We also heard that there was a desire for more personal time. Yeah. To Andrew's point, the proposal and the delicacy here is how do you balance that idea of personal time, sick time, and yet achievement in the classroom as well too. So I think this proposal, and particularly now that it adds the grandfather piece in, here's a ton of voice that we heard at the committee level. And again, the people that I've talked to about this, there's some real excitement around it because it is, and Andrew pointed it out a few times in the debate, this is different than what we currently have. And there's certainly a benefit to people, and there's some real benefit to people immediately the following year, whether it be time to retire or cashing out some of those unused days.
So understand, there's two financial components to this. There's the, once you hit 60, if you don't use them, we're gonna make a contribution to your 403B, which is the equivalent of 401K, as I understand. Yep, so just the time value of money situation for people could be huge over a number of years. But then there's the, I'll call it the retirement that as I understand in our conversation, there was some tenured teachers there that said, you know, this was kind of pre-Act 10, something that was there, and since Act 10, it hasn't been. So there would be a cost to the district upon some long-term employees, if they're at that level today or achieve that level, to get potential payout. Yeah, so there is that, there's an impact there. But again, I think Ron and the administrative team and, you know, we try to approach it as like, we hear you, we wanna start putting stuff in place, you know, in an environment where, what, 17% of teachers statewide leave their school annually, going back for the last 8 years. It's accelerated after COVID, I think. It gotten worse. So this is something we hope long-term will. And I think that the key piece, and everybody's got a season of life that they go through, but the hope is, at least for me, is people see that benefit in their 401K. And maybe it's because I'm a banker or the numbers guy, I'm like, all that money going into your retirement, if the quicker you can get it in there and the longer runway you have for retirement, just compounding of, you know, 8% market return over X number of years is huge for retirement.
It is. It is a great benefit. Certainly.
I would love it in the private sector. I would just say that. Yeah.
Other part is the only part that.
If there's something else that comes up, again, obviously we'll have a final read to it. This would be going forward, starting July 1st, or obviously moving forward.
And I think we do have another policy meeting on the books for March
8th.
So if there's anything, you can come to us in that. Right?
Yeah, I can, yeah, certainly.
Other concerns, like people like you.
Right, yeah, a lot of people have reached out, certainly.
Okay, now we're on to the first reading of the 400 series. Is there any concerns about those withdrawing their packet?
I just probably say that these were policies there. I look to Ron to say, there's a lot of talk about interviewing kids, doing different things. We spent a lot of time talking about school law versus real world application. Who's looking out for the minor, etc. That was where I focused as I was reviewing it. So it was, we spent an hour and a half going over all these policies.
Yeah.
Right, a good hour. and a half.
That was the only topic. We pulled out everything else except the 400 policies.
So
Any other discussion? Let's move on to the school calendar.
Again, the school calendar as presented to in the board packet, as well as the board, was the same that was last month. Hasn't really heard, didn't hear zero feedback. And we'll just our parents are anxious to see what next year's calendar is going to be. So just looking for the board to make a motion to approve the 24-25 district calendar as presented.
second,
Okay, we have a motion and a second, any discussion? And all in favor of approving the 24-25 school calendar as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Both same sign, motion carried 4-0. We're on to future meeting agenda items.
okay, I think this is where,
Yes, and we did have a conversation tonight, we talked about having last time, and I didn't catch it on the agenda that came out. We're talking about how to increase, what we might be able to do to increase trust with our. Increase our trust in that conversation. So we're gonna have a conversation about that, I'm fine for waiting that until March, but I'd like to do it. And then
Rebecca, what I'll do then is I'll work with you to get that down, and then if you want to give me a little word about what it is you'd like to put in there, and we can work together on it.
sounds good.
Bringing back the SEL.
Yes. For recommendation, okay?
Yep.
how long do you think until we have the survey data?
We'll be able to have that. Certainly. That's not gonna- yeah, absolutely. Yeah, paper, absolutely. Yep.
Ron, I just think, if you remember, our board meeting in March is what, the 18th?
March 18th.
So it really depends on how long we do it, how long we want to leave it open and have it available for board packet. Not saying it's not doable, but it's not giving a lot of,
You just didn't meet or the week window, the Monday to Friday window is when most people think
Mhm.
they're going to, with a couple of reminders.
yeah,
After that, your numbers fall.
Yeah.
off for how many people. You get the
Yes,
uptick,
I'll
you have to take it by.
Okay.
I do my best part.
But the 2 week time period is not generally keeping notes, it's the reminder,
Mhm.
sometimes it's the last day.
We'll get that.
Okay, anything else on the next two meetings for schedule?
And we're third Monday of March.
Yep, March 18th. Motion to adjourn.
The motion is second, all in favor, then say aye.
Aye.
Anytime, meeting adjourned, now we,
Maybe second.
I think this.
Nicole, okay. Okay. Motion's adjourned. Okay. All right, so. We did have, we had 22 people apply for March 11th. And we had 16 people apply for March 4th, so for the parents to be part of our school principals, so. That. We'll first hold the March 4th one, and we'll be looking for 2 parents.
I'll go.
This looking for 2. 1. We have Justin Flugel and Ryan Schnantz.
Chance.
Johnson, thank you, Johnson. Okay. All right, so those 2 are no longer. Those are first on that. So. And we have 22 that are gonna go in. And I'm gonna take out Justin and Ryan. We can't, we want different groups, so we want Ryan in there. Now we're looking for 5 names.
Got it.
is it business school district had a problem with this?
Yes.
Why? No. Maybe I don't wanna call.
You'll be okay. Yeah, make sure you won't show everybody. Okay, so I need 5. All right, sorry, let's go. Two. 3. 4. 5. Our 5s, we have Eric Johnson. We have Justin Kent. We have Christine Bottiger. We have Ashley Lenz. And we have Brooke Beal. So, thank you, everybody.
hey, Ron, do you wanna pick a backup in case someone can't make it or there's an emergency while you have the names? I don't know.
I can.
Let's do this one.
So that's gonna flip further than the- so like, here's our 6. Here's our runner-up.
Yes.
Our backup is.
Nicole.
God.
Trust me.
All right, then.
We need the rest of those.
Could be very.
I just,
I know.
Backup is Nicole Bieber. Something is.
Biedder.
Yeah.
I act like I'm never gonna do this.
Oh, we have the names.
So we are back up, and they don't have to commit to it if they can't, or before. Yeah, we have Jessica Gillis Smith. We are back. Archie Buddy, that's what you're.
I was like, oh, this is fun.
So that's right, go down, please.
Okay, all right.